The winery of the Juhász brothers, Egerszaló. Where I smell good wine, I go there. So why wouldn't I go to Eger? If I avoided this town, God would strike me down. In the historic wine region of Eger and the surrounding hills, wine was already produced when the famous Hungarian poet Sándor Petőfi wrote the above lines in the 19th century. The Eger wine region of 6,200 hectares is located on the western slopes of the Bükk mountain range, 120 kilometers from Budapest. This is the region where the excellent high-quality wines of the Juhász brothers are produced. The particularly rich fragrance and components of these wines are resulted by the red-brown clay and volcanic soil of the region.
Pincészetünk egy klasszikus családi vállalkozás az egész történelem.
The Juhász winery is a family-owned business. The two brothers started small-scale wine production on the lands inherited from their parents and grandparents. Their persistent work and the dynamic development of the past 20 years have yielded visible results. The winery has become one of the largest family-run companies of the Eger wine region. The Juhász brothers, working side by side and supervising a committed team, harvest and process 2,500 tons of grapes from a vineyard of 300 hectares. On a vineyard of this size, there's always something to do. Pruning the vines early in spring ensures their healthy development and provides for the growing of vines that will yield the next year's grapes. It also influences the quality and quantity of that year's harvest. In spring and early in the summer, it is very important to fasten the vines and the shoots together, and also to their trellis. The vines are also arranged in a way that ensures the best possible result. Almost like a jungle. Then it is time for topping, canopy management and digging. These are the most important activities at the beginning of the summer, and they shall be done when the new plants have already overgrown their supports and start to bend back. Grapes, like all noble crops, may be attacked by various pests and diseases. So it's necessary to spray them from time to time. The optimal time of spraying is not easy to determine. Of course, there are many more tasks to be done, including the repair work of the trellis if necessary, fertilization, and the weed control.
Az izgalmas és érdekes dolog tulajdonképpen, ami a pincészetünknek tulajdonképpen a fő filozófiáját és a legfontosabb.
The philosophy of the winery is that only the best grapes shall be selected. In new vineyards, the best bunches of grapes are selected very carefully, thus limiting the yield and reducing the weight on the vine. The company grows good quality grapes with high sugar content and produces unique wines out of them. Red wines are often matured in oak barrels for years and then sold as bottled wines. Harvest usually takes place between the beginning of September and the middle of October. However, this time bunches are not just thrown to the ground like earlier. during the selection process. Now, they are placed in buckets and then in containers, from which they are loaded by machines into even bigger storage containers. The grapes are already carefully cleaned of leaves and some of the contamination. From a vineyard of 300 hectares, the Juhász brothers harvest and process 2,500 tons of grapes and produce about 16 to 17,000 hectoliters of wine. Several types of grapes are grown here. Some traditional local black types are Kék Frankos, Blue Frankish, Zweigelt, Portugieser, and Blauburger. Of course, the winery also has international grape types too, including Cabernet Sauvignon, Cabernet Franc, Merlot, and Pinot Noir. As for the white grapes of the winery, the most important types of the Carpathian Basin are Italian Riesling, Egri Leányka, or the Maiden of Eger, and Muscat Ottonel. The major international types grown here are Chardonnay and Sauvignon Blanc. The harvested grapes are processed in the plant of the company, located at the Kőlyuk cellars. The grapes are first dumped into the hopper, where they are crushed and the berries are destined. The processes are constantly supervised by the managers, and they decide the necessary steps to produce the best wine possible.
Ez a gesztelési kékfrankos, 23 stoppal születeltük.
The sugar content of the Blue Frankish picked in the Gesztenyi slope is 23, which is a quite high volume.
Szép színe van, nagyon szép színe van. Tartalmas, testes, fajsúlyos, nagyon szép. Úgyhogy szerintem akkor ezt préseljük ki most már.
After a 14-day fermentation phase, the grapes are pressed and loaded into 500-liter oak barrels, where the maturation of the wine begins.
És akkor ott elkezdjük az érlelést, meg meglátjuk, hogy a savanyok hogy alakulnak.
Due to the recent major improvements, the winery is a very modern facility. However, despite all the modern technology, the owners cherish the tradition of winemaking in Eger. The family winery has a storage capacity of 25,000 hectoliters of wine, out of which 6,500 liters of wine can be stored in oak barrels. Bigger barrels are fabricated in the storage facility, as this is the only way they can be placed in the cellars. The Juhász brothers own one of the biggest oak barrel storage facilities in the region.
Most egy 2011-es gesztelési merlót fogunk kóstolni, ami egy éve van első töltésű oltóban.
The owners are tasting a 2011 Merlot selection with Swedish fragrance, which has been maturing in a new barrel for a year now. This wine, amounting to 30 hectoliters, will not be matured any further, but filled into bottles. This quantity will be enough to fill about 4,500 bottles.
Ez körülbelül lesz, hogy a 4500 polc.
A part of the wine produced here is bottled, whereas another part is filled into larger containers to be sold for bars and pubs. The winery sells about 800,000 bottles a year, and the owners are planning to increase this output. The wine is bottled by modern equipment. The bottles are boxed and stored until distribution. The Juhász brothers are working relentlessly to increase the reputation of Hungarian wines and the Eger wine region. They have gained considerable recognition not only in Europe but in Asia as well. Their wines have won countless awards in the past 5 years at various wine competitions. In 2012, they were awarded the title of the best winemakers of Eger.
Úgy gondolom, hogy az egri borvidékkel az elkövetkező évtizedekben nagyon komolyan számolni kell.
The Eger wine region will play an increasing role in the world of wine in the future decades. So it's well worth visiting this winery to see the secrets of winemaking and taste the wines in the tasting center.
Tovább fogja vinni a jó hírünket, és természetesen a magyar boroknak a jó hírét, ezért dolgozunk, ezért tevékenykedünk, hogy ez így történjen, és nagyon-nagyon reméljük.
We hope that people who come here and taste the Juhász brothers wines will have a genuine experience of the wines of Eger.
Köszönöm mindenkinek kedvesek.
Cheers! The tasting center is an ideal place for friendly meetings, company gatherings, or exclusive receptions. Visitors coming from far away can stay at the Anna Guest House in Egerszalók at a very reasonable price. In this 3-star guest house, guests can relax after the wine tasting and enjoy the amenities of the thermal bath of the village. We hope that those who watched this film and tasted the wines of the Juhász brothers will leave, as owner Attila Juhász has just said, with the genuine wine of experience or an experience of wine or, well, whatever. I'm very sorry, but I can hardly get the words out after the wine tasting, so let me finish with the words of the poet Sándor Petőfi. I can hardly make a good rhyme. Do you think it's because of the wine? Don't think that, my dear brothers, wine would never cause me trouble.